Woke up, it was a Chelsea morning, and the first thing that I heard was a song outside my window, and the traffic wrote the words. It came ringing up like Christmas bells, and wrapping up like pipes and drums. Oh, won't you stay? We'll put on the day, and we'll wear it till the night comes. was a Chelsea morning, and the first thing that I saw was the sun through yellow curtains and a rainbow on the wall. Blue, red, green, and gold to welcome you, crimson crystal beads to beckon. Oh, won't you stay? We'll put on the day. There's a sun show every second. Now the curtain opens on a portrait of today, and the streets are paved with passers-by, and pigeons fly and papers lie waiting to blow away. Woke up, it was a Chelsea morning, and the first thing that I knew, there was milk and toast and honey, and a bowl of oranges too, and the sun poured in like butterscotch and stuck to all my senses. Oh, won't you stay? We'll put on the day, and we'll talk in present tenses. When the curtain closes and the rainbow runs away, I will bring you incense bells by night, by candlelight, by jewel light, if only you will stay. Pretty baby, won't you wake up? It's a white bear morning.
Good morning. Welcome to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church, where together we grow our souls and serve the world in love. We're delighted to have you here, both those of you here in this space and those attending virtually. It's good to be together, a community of youth, adults, and children sharing the values of courage, reverence, and compassion. I'm Kathy Sedro. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm serving on our board of directors. Join us today for social hour after the service. The staff and ministers will host us in the social hall, and you can join in person or via Zoom. Beginning on the hour after the postlude, it is a 20-minute session of sharing in randomized small groups, and it's designed to provide a deep and intentional welcome to all. We've heard from many of you how important this time has been to connect and to meet new people. If you prefer an informal time of mingling, feel free to do so in the atrium or Emerson alcove. Take care to look for our weekly e-news on Wednesdays. It may be in your promotions folder. This is where you will find special announcements, info on events, and many more important things going on in our congregation. Service participants, in addition to me, include Nancy Heinrichs, Molly Ryan, Reverend Roger, Reverend Sarah, Joanna Eccles, Amy Peterson-Derrick, Susan Warweg, and Lori Kigner, with behind-the-scenes support from Aaron Scott. Musicians for today's service are Laura Stone-Girage and Aliyah Girage. We'll now hear an announcement from Nancy Heinrichs about an exciting plan our Facing Climate Change Committee is working on.
Thank you, Kathy. My name is Nancy Heinrichs, and I use she and her. On behalf of the Global Climate Action Committee, we would like to thank those who participated in the Facing Climate discussions this month. We all agree that we must vote, and we need to get others to vote for the environment, climate solutions, and climate justice. We hope that there will be continued discussions about climate change and the actions we can take to lower carbon emissions. Many of you may not be aware that in 2007, a couple members of this church had enough foresight to pay for the installation of a 10-kilowatt solar array on the church roof. These solar panels are still working very well after 15 years. Be sure to check out the solar monitor in the hallway to the social hall. For the past 3 years, with the support and encouragement of the church board, we have explored the possibility of installing an additional 20-kilowatt solar array on the church roof. Today, we are excited to announce plans to make the possibility a reality. This will triple the sustainable electricity for WBUUC, reduce the church's monthly electrical bills, and significantly reduce our collective carbon footprint. We have received proposals from several solar contractors. New panels can generate twice as much power for the same amount of roof space. The old and new solar panels can all work together. You can help mitigate your carbon footprint by purchasing carbon offsets to help pay for the new solar array. Our plan is for congregants to purchase carbon offsets for their leisure travel. This would include vacation travel by plane, automobile, boat, and train. For some of you, it may be trips to the cabin. The estimated cost, a 625-mile car trip would be $25. A domestic flight, $50 per seat. An international flight, $100 per seat. The decreased emissions at the church will help to offset the CO2 emitted from burning fossil fuels in cars, boats, and planes while on vacation. The more you travel, the more opportunities you will have to purchase carbon offsets. We want to make it clear that this is not a donation or a pledge to WBUUC. This is a voluntary commitment to purchase carbon offsets for the use of fossil fuels. During this Earth Day celebration, let's be grateful for what we have here on Earth. Know that we have the power to improve our natural environment and help protect the Earth for future generations. Every action matters. Every bit of warming matters. Every year matters. Every choice matters. Please visit us in the atrium after the service to learn what you can do about climate change, learn more about the current solar array and the proposed solar expansion here at WBUUC.
Come into this place which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together, we make it a holy place. My name is Reverend Roger, and my pronouns are he, him. Molly Ryan will lead us in our chalice lighting this morning.
Good morning. It's wonderful to be here with you all. My name is Molly Ryan, and my pronouns are she, her. When I first learned that I would be doing the chalice lighting for our Earth Day service with the theme of people, empowerment, and saving the earth, I felt woefully underqualified. While I do love nature and do what I can to lessen my household's carbon footprint, I am certainly no one's inspiration for saving the earth. I have an intellectual understanding that we must do something to stop global warming, and we must call for social justice on behalf of those who are most impacted by it. But my activism begins and ends at the recycling bin, the signed petition, and the occasional email to a senator. All things that are made very easy for me by people who have a much bigger dedication to the cause than I. When I dig deeper into this personal dissonance between what I value and what I do, I realize that the concept of saving the planet seems daunting and overwhelming to me. I stand in awe of those who have devoted time and effort to doing so much more, both globally and right here at WBUUC. From the Keystone Pipeline to saving the butterflies, there's a lot of tenacity, passion, and dedication in our congregation to draw inspiration from. For me, Earth Day 2022 is a chance to awaken to new practices and ideas, to look towards those who are tirelessly doing the brunt of the work and say, how can I help lessen your burden? It's a day to get closer to understanding that saving the earth is not a singular Herculean event, but a long-term group effort. It's a spiritual practice that goes hand in hand with our call to serve the world in love. Today, I light the chalice for all those who inspire and empower us to do better, and for the earth.
I am Reverend Sarah Goodman, and I use she, her pronouns. Join me in our opening words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Our hymn is For the Beauty of the Earth, number 21 in the gray hardback hymnal. Feel free to rise in body or spirit, or adjust your voice to sing. Sing out.
For the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies, source of all to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of ear and eye, for the heart and mind's delight, for the mystic harmony, linking sense to sound and sight, source of all to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the wonder of each hour of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars and light, source of all to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human care, sister, brother, parent, child, for the kinship we all share, for the gentle thoughts and mild, source of all to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise.
Good morning. My name is Joanna Eccles, and I use she, her pronouns, and I am here representing Your Earth Ministry. And Care for the Earth is really visible all around us here at WBUU, which I affectionately call my nature church. There's native plant gardens, there's nest boxes for birds, there's nature-inspired art, oftentimes in the alcove or in the atrium, against beautiful rustic wood that came from trees that were stood right here on this site. We have a long history of very thoughtful Earth Day celebrations. We have active committees working locally on the land right here on site, and also working on some of the greatest issues of our day, like global climate change. So the Earth Ministry supports the 7th UU principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. We launched Earth Ministry in 2018 to carry forward years of work by a dedicated group to earn green sanctuary status from the Unitarian Universalist Association in 2017. We have a motto. Our motto is notice, cherish, protect. And that motto centers us and it guides our work as a group, but also as individuals, as we each work to develop our own spiritual connection to Earth and to environmental action. For some, notice is a reminder to slow down and to be present, to cherish the smallest, most fleeting observation. It might be a tiny dewdrop or a tiny plant or bit of moss. It might be something like what I've noticed this week, the light and how it's hitting all those buds that are just about to burst. For others, it's the protect part that calls to them, prompting visible, tangible action and leadership on a huge range of issues. And no question, there are so many pressing issues. It can be daunting for all of us at times. So we hope that we can be one source of strength and inspiration for you to act in whatever way is appropriate for you. So we do have kind of an informal place here on campus that we meet at church. We have a phenology board, and that's where we often gather to kind of share sightings and just talk about common interests. We invite you to stop by today and share what you've noticed, share what you cherish in nature, and what you are working personally to protect. So we have these little leaves where you can jot down to either keep for yourself or to share what Earth Ministry means for you.
Good morning. My name is Amy. My pronouns are she, her. Last fall, I went in search of the perfect acorn to add to my home altar. And luckily, this was not hard because the park near my house is filled with creaky, old, knotted oak trees. The ground is covered with acorns just like these a couple of weeks each year. And I really, really I cherish these trees and the way their strong branches twist and turn and how they look like they could be prehistoric or right out of Middle Earth or something. I often wonder how many generations of human families these trees have gotten to know as they have witnessed evening strolls through the parks, how many birds have rested and nested in the safety of their branches, and how many critters too small for our eyes to see call these trees home. I see these trees often, several times a week, in fact, as I make my way through the park, and these oaks are a comfort and they are a wonder to me. But as much as I cherish these trees, I know that there are times when I walk through this park and I completely forget that they are there. Sometimes they blend right into the background and I return home without having thought of them even once on my journey.
Has that ever happened to you? When something you see every day or that you cherish just disappears completely into the background because you're just so used to seeing it? We all do this sometimes. Nature, buildings, landmarks, even people can start to disappear into the background if we aren't in the practice of noticing. And I think it's true that we often forget to take care of the people, places, and things that we forget to notice. And that's why this little acorn, this little potential tree beard, sits on my home altar to remind me to be in the practice of noticing, to remind me to hold high the beauty, wonder, and necessity of the trees in the park by my house. And the magic is that when I remember to notice the trees, I also start remembering to notice the creatures and the humans who bask in their shade and breathe their air, and the entire web of existence of which we, the trees, are a part. But noticing takes practice. In a world where there are so many things tugging at our attention, taking time to shift our noticing to nature or anything is really important and also healing. As our Earth Ministry team reminded us, as Unitarian Universalists, we are called to notice, cherish, protect. And so this morning, we're going to all take a moment to practice just noticing, to practice what that's like to just notice together. So take a breath. Get comfortable in your body right where you are, or if you need to move around the space, as you move around the space, however you're comfortable. And begin by just noticing your own breath, breathing in, breathing out, and setting aside all those other things that are fighting for attention. They'll be there later. Just feel your own breath. What does that feel like, to notice your breath? What do you wonder? What do you cherish? And take another breath and turn your attention to the space around you. You might notice those who share this space with you also breathing deeply, or you might see that others have closed their eyes, or they're moving around the space. You might notice church noises from people or from the building itself, or even from the birds outside. What does it feel like to notice these things? What do you wonder? What do you cherish? And finally, turn your attention to the natural world outside the space, either looking out the windows or in your mind's eye. Maybe you imagine a peaceful lakefront or a park near your home, or a dark forest, or the beautiful woods and gardens outside these windows. Pay attention to the sights, sounds, textures, and smells that come to mind for you, that you notice. What does it feel like to notice these things? What do you wonder? What do you cherish? And now take one final breath and return now to this space, but holding still what you notice, what you cherish, and you protect, and hold it with you today. We're going to rise and sing number 1057 and the Teal Hymnal as we sing our children, youth, and facilitators on to their classes.
Go lifted up, love bless your way. Moonlight, starlight, guide your journey into peace.
Take a breath and continue in the spirit of meditation. We gather this morning, about 80 people in this room and about 50 people or 50 households on Zoom. We gather as people of caring, a people who grieve and love together. We have collected the requests from the bowl and encourage those on Zoom to add any prayer or meditation requests into the chat box. What is it that you cherish? Who is it that you cherish? Who would you do anything to protect? Bring the faces or names of your beloveds into your mind. Offer them a word or phrase of blessing, wrapping that word around them like a warm and fuzzy blanket. Invite you to name your beloveds aloud into the following silence so that we can notice how we are interconnected to the earth and to each other. Name beloveds into this silence. We hold also Joanna Vale, who was admitted to Regents Hospital on Thursday. She's undergoing some tests. In loving memory of a good Minnesotan, John Welfeld. In much gratitude for allies Kevin and Kelly. We hold all of them with blessing, with love, together in our hearts. Amen.
Our offering this morning will support our land stewardship team's woodland restoration project on the beautiful WBUUC grounds. You can give in multiple ways. Put money in the offering basket as it's passed around in a moment, contribute online, send a check or leave one in the locked box outside the front office, or follow the text to give prompts on the screen. Susan Warweg from our Land Stewardship Committee will now share more about their woodland restoration project.
Thank you, Kathy. The Land Stewardship Committee is committed to the UU principle to care for our earth here at 328 Maple Street. The trees, the grasses, the shrubs, the plants, everything here has been planted with intention. And especially, hang on, there. It's been carefully selected and planted. Most recently in 2019, we planted the Spirit Prairie, reflecting our commitment to pollinators and native species. Our church in the woods sits on 4 acres of woodland here with wetland and stream. Our woodland over the years has struggled. We've lost trees to oak wilt and storm damage. This winter, 6 trees right out here were removed due to disease and storm damage. Over the years, we've also worked to remove invasive species and manage this with very limited funds. Our woodland needs serious stewardship and restoration. This winter, a proposal was submitted to the board for consideration. The proposal requested funding over a 4-year period of time. The funding would be used to assess the areas and sections, the current trees and plants. We would then remove the diseased trees and invasive plants and plant a determined number of native trees. The trees would be at least 2 inches in caliber, 14 to 18 feet high, and each tree would cost approximately $850 to $875 per tree. They would be planted and then protected from our dear friends out here, and they would be also guaranteed for 1 year. Understory trees would be $275 to $375 per tree. Our hope is that with funding over a 4-year period of time, we'll be able to restore our woodland as a healthy and thriving sanctuary for wildlife in our community. We hope we can reflect our values in the care of the earth. Should you have questions about this project or related work, there's a land stewardship table right out here in the atrium. We can discuss this project and other work needs that we have and what we are doing out there. We thank the Earth Ministry for coordinating this effort to present this information. So thank you very much. There you go.
Good morning. I'm Lori Kigner, a member of the Earth Ministry Committee. I have been feeling inadequate about my efforts to counteract climate change, that my results are tiny compared to the need for action that I read about daily. Then, on April 3rd, I read a New York Times article by German Lopez titled Climate Optimism, and here is a summary. The world has made real progress on climate change and still has time to act. Fear is useful to wake us up and make us pay attention, but if we don't know what to do, it paralyzes us. Katharine Hayhoe, a climate scientist, told me. The world has made genuine progress. Before 2015, the world was expected to warm by 4 degrees Celsius by 2100. Today, the world is on track for 3 degrees Celsius, and if the world's leaders meet their current commitments, the planet would warm by 2 degrees Celsius. The world's governments and biggest businesses need the public's help and support. Experts said that individuals could still make a difference by playing into a collective approach. The bottom line, don't give up on the future. Look for productive ways to prevent impending doom. And the article went on to list collective approaches, including reaching out to family and friends, becoming involved politically, actively sharing on social media, and donating to climate organizations. Recently, I reflected on a conversation with a friend who plans to scatter clover seed around the metro, a guerrilla-styled action. While I've been modifying my yard to include clover, I am now inspired to become a clover gorilla. Maybe that is not enough to make a significant difference. I'll never know. I'll combine it with other collective efforts I make. In the meantime, pollinators may become a bit healthier and a little happier, and I will add clover gorilla to my lifetime resume.
Good morning. This song has a poem that is written in Gujarati, which is a language from the western part of India. And the poem says, it's speaking to the divine, and it says, I look for you in, the biggest things. I look for you in the mountains and in the sun, and I listen for you in the roar of the lion. But I also look for you in the trees. I listen for you in the clucking of the hen. And sometimes you may seem very far away, sometimes you seem close, but I always know and can see and sense and hear you somewhere. And the word for somewhere in Gujarati is kyak. So you'll hear the refrain, somewhere, somewhere, somewhere. Parvat tara pohda khamba sarvar tariyang. Hey Ishwar hu tane jochu Kyak, kyak, ne kyak. Kyak, kyak, ne kyak. Kyak, kyak, ne kyak. दरिया तारो दिल विशाळु वृक्ष तारी वात मेघधनुषना रंगो मातु रमीरयो रळियात तू तरणानो तारणारो चरणनो तू नाद फूल फूलनी रंग सुगंधे तारी छे सोगात पर्वत तारा पहला खंभ सरवर तारी आंग हे ईश्वर हूँ तने जोचु क्याक क्याक ने क्याक 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 ने क्याक 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 ने क्याक सूर्य चंद्र ने तारा आभे अहि आगिया तमरा राड त्राडने लाडनी साथे मोर पिंचना सूर संत कुकरी रमतो रहे न जी कने दूर पर्वत तारा पहड़ा खंभ सरवर तारी आंग हे ईश्वर हूँ तने जोचु क्याक क्याक ने क्याक 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 ने क्याक 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 ने क्याक 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 ने क्याक 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 ने क्याक
A couple days ago, a minister colleague of mine told me about a climate change book that she had recently read that explores 3 different feelings that are often evoked by the climate crisis: grief, anxiety, and apathy. Sometimes folks get kind of stuck in one of those, or more often cycle from one to the other to the other. Of course, there's a 4th category, which is called denial. And that can come from ideology, or it can come from the very human response to troubling things that many of us have, which is to put our head in the sand and pretend it's not so. I'm not going to spend much time today on that one. If we take this problem seriously and heed the increasingly dire warnings of climate scientists, it can feel so overwhelming, and our ability to impact it so minuscule that it is very easy to fall into grief, anxiety, and apathy. So how do we deal with this challenge? Emotionally, spiritually, ethically. Just in this service, we've already heard a variety of approaches from Molly, Nancy on behalf of the Facing Climate Change team, and Lori. Lori shared an article that she found particularly helpful. Dana Jackson, who's very much involved in our effort here, lifts up a book by Catherine Hayhoe called A Climate Scientist's Case for Hope and Healing in a Divided World. It's very meaningful and helpful. Dana also talks about a speech that Heiho gave at the Westminster Town Hall Forum a few months ago that's going to be broadcast on Minnesota Public Radio this week. If you want to know more about those two things, stop at the Facing Climate Change booth and ask Dana. She'll give you the lowdown. I want to share this morning about a book that came out in 2020 that I find very helpful. The book is by Sarah Jaquette Ray and is called A Field Guide to Climate Anxiety: How to Keep Your Cool on a Warming Planet. So she wrote this book primarily for Generation Z, which is people born from the early 1990s to early 2010s. I'm not in that category, but it appeals, I think, to a much wider audience as well. It's chock full of very practical, good ideas. So Ray argues that visions of certain doom, even if the facts may justify that, are not good motivators for most people, and same with guilt. So she asks, how can we stay motivated in the face of this problem? How can we face the facts and not fall permanently into hopelessness, grief, anxiety, or apathy? You see, all those things sideline us from being able to be part of working on this for the long haul. There's 5 key ideas from Ray's book that really resonate with me. The first one is that we need to be attentive to our own emotional response to this climate change crisis, even though it's really hard to do so. Ray argues that our response to climate change needs to be shaped more by our emotional selves than our rational selves. We need, she says, to take an unflinching look at this emotional response we have. There's a metaphor that she paints for this where imagine sitting on a park bench and next to you is your despair about the climate. Have a conversation. Pay attention to that. Listen to that. Don't pretend that it's not there and it's just going to go away. Because if you don't take the time to do this, then you'll never be able to get past the emotional response and get your rationality involved as well. Second, Ray says that we need to understand, not just rationally, but also emotionally, that the struggle for justice is always very long. So if we need to see tangible progress, if hope is possible for us only if progress is visible, then we are likely to feel doomed and hopeless. So Ray makes a really radical assertion. Hope is beside the point. Work toward the world we yearn for, not for the world that feels reasonably possible. She laments climate change books that are chock full of doom and gloom and then add a spoonful of sugar, as she puts it right at the end. That sugary hope lasts about as long as the energy from a jumbo candy bar. This all makes me think about the 19th century Unitarian minister, abolitionist, transcendentalist Theodore Parker, who coined the statement that the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Dr. Martin Luther King, of course, famously picked that up. Believing that the moral arc of the universe does eventually bend toward justice is a faith statement. It is not necessarily a statement of fact. I believe with Dr. King that the daybreak of freedom and justice will come, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to be in my lifetime. Progress happens in fits and starts. Just think about, for example, the black experience in the United States. Hundreds of years of slavery, abolition so quickly followed by Jim Crow segregation and lynching. Turns out that folks in the KKK had more stamina for this long struggle than the white allies of blacks who had the privilege to get tired and quit the fight. 100 years later, the civil rights movement advances things, and those gains, many of them, are slowly being whittled away, including by mass incarceration. Fits and starts, fits and starts. So Theodore Parker wisely did not put a time frame on when that arc bends. Don't enlist in the fight for justice if you think that it's going to be a quick victory. Develop stamina for the long haul. So Ray writes about bringing about change really requires a daily leap of faith. Reaching up to pull that arc down a little bit in our own little way takes daily leaps of faith. So we need, I think, to borrow from the Buddhists this practice of detachment from ends. We need to do that so we don't get despondent and step off this train that keeps lurching forward and backward. We hope a little more forward than backward. Third, Ray suggests that we not need and let go of grandiose solutions to the climate crisis. It is not just the famous and the powerful, the people who make headlines, who will help us move forward. Change happens because of all the little actions of average unknown people like you and me. These are essential. Now, sometimes a small action can kind of light a fire, like a Swedish high school girl who organizes a climate strike at her school, but that's a rare exception. Humility is a powerful tool for this journey toward justice, even when the problem feels so urgent. We need to pair urgency and humility. Today, we're beginning to hear about one of these potential small actions that could help us make progress. This is the Facing Climate Change Team's carbon offset plan, and it's really important in that plan. It's not just about putting more solar panels up on the roof here. It's also, maybe more importantly, about helping each of us get mindful of our carbon footprint. So this is not all riding on you and me. Each of us has unique gifts and passions to add to the struggle for justice. The trick, it seems to me, is to find a cause that stirs your heart, that stirs your soul, and plug into it with your talents. Ray encourages us to be intentional about what we give our energy to. She suggests writing a personal mission statement and using that mission statement to say yes to those things that are that meeting spot of the world's need and our passion, and no to those things which, while maybe great, important, are going to be distractions from our personal mission. It's important for all of us to understand that there is a lot wrong with our planet and with our species. I think it's probably always been true. It's also important to understand that different movements toward justice appeal to different people. That's okay. They're all interwoven together anyway. Here's an uncomfortable truth that I've encountered in American Unitarian Universalism, and not so much here, I'm happy to say. But I have seen often that some of the biggest impediments to UU congregations digging into the work of racial justice are the people who are most passionate about climate change. Overall, there are too many Unitarian Universalists passionate about climate change who feel threatened if their congregation digs in to do deep work about racial justice, because to them, nothing besides climate change really matters. This drives me nuts. We each need to dive into the cause of justice that most unleashes our passion and our energy. And anyway, racial and climate justice are ultimately so thoroughly interwoven. It's so clear that Black, Indigenous, and people of color and poor people are disproportionately impacted by climate change. And the attitude that animates colonization and segregation and exploiting and oppressing people who are different from us is the very same attitude that animates destroying the earth, taking its resources irresponsibly. Fourth, if the fate of the earth is not solely riding on you and riding on me, then it's best for us to join our efforts with others. People empowerment, such a key to empower each other in all of these justice movements. No one is an island. The lone activist is an island who does no good. And fifth, we need to take care of ourselves for the long haul. Burning out for the cause of justice does no good to us, to others, to the earth. Ray recommends several ways to take care of ourselves. Practice mindfulness and gratitude. Avoid self-sabotaging habits. Limit the use of social media. And I'd expand that to be media in general. I don't know about you, but wow, there's a lot of bad news out there right now. In the recent weeks, I've had to scale back a little bit on my consumption of news about Ukraine and be more sensitive to the times of day I want to learn about it, like not first thing in the morning. Get enough sleep, Ray suggests. Focus on the tasks that meet our mission and let go of those which don't. Cultivate a support network and cultivate community like this church. Cultivate compassion and care for others even when they are in a really different place from us. Visualize good outcomes without getting attached to them. Celebrate small successes. Seek beauty and pleasure, both of which can so restore our souls. I'd add two more to this. Find folks who inspire us to do the hard work of justice. I've already found folks in this congregation who inspire me. Look around, they're not just the famous people. And then cultivate a daily spiritual practice that helps ground us, helps us be grateful. It strikes me like this practice of going out and really minutely, finely observing nature in a way that helps us notice, that helps us cherish, that helps us then protect, is a spiritual practice. So if we, and a whole lot of people across this earth, do the stuff that I just talked about, will it work? I don't know if it will work. I don't know if it won't work. I don't know. What I do know is that if too many humans like you and me give up or burn out, the transformation that our planet and our species so desperately need will never happen. So in this community, let's find ways to stay in this justice work for the long haul. Let's find those ways. May we make it so. Our closing hymn today is number 163 in the larger gray hymnal, For the Earth Forever Turning. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit wherever you are and sing the song.
Sing we are
Please join me in the closing words. May peace dwell within our hearts and understanding in our minds. May courage steel our will and love of truth forever guide us. Go in peace.
They paved paradise, put up a parking lot with a pink hotel, a boutique, and a swinging hot spot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Ooh, ba, ba, ba. Ooh, ba, ba, ba. They took all the trees, put them in a tree museum, and they charged the people $1.50 just to see them. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Ooh, ba, ba, ba. Ooh. Hey, farmer, farmer, put away that DDT now. Give me spots on my apples, believe me, the birds and the bees. Please, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Ooh, ba, ba, ba. Ooh, ba, ba, ba. Late last night, heard the screen door slam, and a big yellow taxi took away my old man. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking